I have a prediction. Hear me out on this prediction. Over the next few weeks, you will see a number of news articles from the mainstream media reminding you why you should hate actor Mel Gibson, or at the very least, why you should ignore him. They will remind you that he's a bad person, a racist, an anti-Semite, and all manner of other things, they will tell you. They will republish the leaked audio recordings of his personal conversations where he said some really vile things that he later apologized for. We know these original recordings were edited before they were released. We now know that. How did they get out in the first place, you ask? How did these private conversations get out? How did the company that owns the National Enquirer get their hands on these tapes to begin with? Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Just shut up and follow along. This anti-Mel Gibson campaign will start soon. It's going to start. You watch. Mark my words. Because Mel Gibson and what he is about to reveal about Hollywood and beyond. We just learned that Mel Gibson is about to release a 4-part massive documentary series on the worldwide child sex trafficking ring that brings in $34 billion a year in revenue. $34 billion in revenue. Just for a frame of reference, the airline industry this year, it's bounced back. It's on pace to do $22 billion in revenue this year. 22. That's all airline companies combined. Child sex trafficking is more profitable than the airline industry. This news comes, though, on a day, today, the Wall Street Journal front page story exposing how Mark Zuckerberg's Instagram, yes, Instagram, is actively promoting in-person meetups for pedophilia networks. Here's the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. Instagram connects vast pedo network. The meta-unit systems for fostering communities have guided users to all sorts of child sex content. Company says it's improving their internal controls. Turns out all of those conspiracy theories about using a pizza emoji and a map that people said, no, that's like pedo language. That was a conspiracy theory. Turns out, just read the Wall Street Journal article. No, that's exactly how they communicated. If you're a seller, use pizza emoji. Use these different emojis to let people know what you want. It's all right there in Instagram. So that's happening. Wall Street Journal bombshell story. At America's border, tens of thousands of children are being brought into the United States for child sex trafficking. Our friend Michael Yan, former Green Beret war correspondent, has been covering this for us, doing an amazing job at the border and in Panama at the Darien Gap. He sent us this video that he filmed from the border with another journalist, because there's huge money, big money, $34 billion in money, basically trafficking untraceable babies who have no birth certificates. No birth certificates, no records. They are perfect for sex trafficking. Watch.
Obviously, we've shown you guys multiple camp areas in which it was not as obvious as what we're seeing here. Take a look what we're seeing here. You start seeing nothing but children's clothes, blankets, let me see, little girls' articles of clothing, little boy or girls, little boy shoes, more little girl undergarments, little girl shoes, more little girl shoes, another, I don't know if it's a woman or another girl's shoes, and there's baby bottles all the way in there. And just to show you guys, there's multiple baby bottles in here, baby formulas, little girl jackets. What's that medicine to the left? Gloves? Pacifiers.
That's not a pacifier, that's a diva cup.
Latex gloves. Like, they had tons of kids in here, guys. Tons of babies in here, wrapped in blankets. Their evidence is here. The government is complicit in all this. They have children out here like dogs. This is incredible. This is a child camp, guys. You can't tell me that what we're seeing here and showing you guys, this is a child camp. This is a child in camp. Look, Infamil. Somebody's bringing them Infamil all the way out here to maintain these children before they get trafficked into the thirsty United States of America.
Let that sink in for a second. Makes me want to cry.
What he just called a pacifier was actually a menstrual cup that he just flung around. So, I mean, these are young, young people. Yeah.
So this is happening in the United States. The United States, the biggest purveyor of this, one of the biggest purveyors of this. Here is former CIA agent explaining exactly how all of this works and why it's so profitable and basically untraceable.
These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture, because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. The other working assumption is how long do these children survive within this system? What I am hearing from the witnesses that I've talked to is 2 years. It may be longer. It may be 4 years, it may be 6 years, but by and large, these children are so abused. I mean, we're talking rapes by the hour and so forth, that they reach their expiration date within 2 years. And then they're murdered with impunity, or they're ritually murdered if that's what they've been bred for.
What?
And you hear this from multiple CIA agents who've worked on these cases where they basically, and former FBI agents that we've spoken to here on this show, who've infiltrated these cells and they've infiltrated these like chat rooms where they've tracked these people and then captured them. They show up at like little girls' homes anyway, awful stuff. Now, even before the racist Mel Gibson audio tapes were released, Mel Gibson was starting to expose Hollywood's dark side, the seedy side of Hollywood, and the children and these sex parties that had long been rumored in Hollywood, these $1 million to be accepted into these certain clubs in Beverly Hills. Oh yeah, they're there. They're real. The sacrifices. Yes, the sacrifices, real. Gibson started to expose this slowly in some interviews. Here's just one example. This one's fairly tame for television.
A gut full of the whole industry. I mean, it's a very strange place, Hollywoode. But it's an odd place. And you imagine all these horror stories there that you think, boy, it seems as if I'm being sacrificed over here. No, that couldn't be true. And then you realize that it is true. And you have to, I just left for a while and took a couple of years off, bought a place down in Australia and started digging holes and putting up fences and birthing cattle and all this kind of stuff. And it was fun, you know, it was fun. It was great, and it was a good breather, you know.
Yeah. And then, of course, the comeback, what a comeback, Lethal Weapon. Yeah. You know, it wasn't bad, was it?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. So he comes back, yeah, and he just switches gears and let's just talk about the movies again. That's why you're here. Let's talk some fun stuff here. You were about to reveal some dark stuff about Hollywood and why you left and went back to Australia. You can't say that kind of stuff. You'll be pushed out, right? You'll be pushed out and you'll be defamed. And Gibson was, of course, destroyed. And now that these racist rants were exposed, who would possibly take him seriously after that, right? After those tapes were leaked. And Hollywood went on to survive another day. And we now know that a big portion of this new Mel Gibson documentary, this 4-part documentary, will center around Ukraine and Ukraine's child trafficking operation. And this is not just 10 kids, 100 kids, not more than 10,000 kids, at least in Ukraine, sold off to be, quote, harvested. Yes, harvested, the words they use. Those are the words they use, not mine. Those are the words they use. And they take advantage of these situations, war zones, hurricanes, earthquakes, etc. NATO's proxy war in Ukraine has revealed a lot about the criminal elements operating there. We've certainly covered them here on the show, and they've been exposed in many quarters now as a result of the proxy war. Also, organ harvesting. New documentary out that RT has on the organ harvesting that's been taking place. That's another story for another day. We now know that Mel Gibson is about to release this documentary because the man who leads the global effort to stop child trafficking, one of the men who leads this, is Tim Ballard. And he told us so. This is Tim Ballard. He's a husband, father, former CIA, former DHS special agent, undercover operator who left and founded Our Rescue, which is a nonprofit that helps to stop this. Here's what their website says. We exist to rescue children from sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. We lead the fight against child sex trafficking and sexual exploitation around the globe. We will not give up and will continue to go to the darkest places until the light is restored and every child is protected. So they exist to stop these children from being exploited. If you're looking for a charity to support, we were talking about Oxfam a minute ago. Maybe you donate, the money that you were going to over there. Maybe this is a better charity for you to be putting your money into. I can't think of a better one at the moment, to be honest with you. We've reached out to Tim to join us here on the show because we would love to share Tim's message and help any way that Redacted can. So we hope that Tim will be a guest on the show. It turns out that Tim Ballard is working directly with Mel Gibson to show the world the horrors of this $34 billion operation. He published this message on social media, which is now legend because Mel Gibson is now trending all over Twitter. Yes. Why? Because of this. Tim Ballard, can't wait to tell you exactly why Mel Gibson is wearing this hat, which is the Our Rescue hat. Big announcement coming soon. And then Tim gave a speech. This speech a short time ago explaining how Mel reached out to him when he found out that what was unfolding in Ukraine. He asked him for help to stop it. Orphans that he supports in Ukraine, get them out of there. Can you help them? And to get the kids out of this area. Tim asked for help in getting the word out, and maybe they could film this process, teach others about what's going on in this world, child sex trafficking. He thought that they were going to be just covering what was happening in Ukraine. Turns out it was a much bigger story than they could have even imagined. Watch him explain his contact with Mel Gibson.
I told Mel, I said, you got to help me. This is going to be expensive. I won't ask you for direct donation, but can you help me film this? Let's film what's happening so we can get people to understand and they can support us. He said, no problem. He helped us get set up and started filming. 4 months later, what I thought was going to be maybe a documentary about Ukraine ends up being a 4-part docuseries that's almost done. It's being produced by DNA Films and executive produced by Tony Robbins. That's how crazy it got and how prophetic my wife was. When I showed up in Ukraine with a list of, I think, 20 names, the Ukrainians countered me and gave me over 10,000 names of orphans that they didn't know where they were.
That's just Ukraine. We know, in fact, that the United States alone, 800,000 children yearly go missing in the United States. 800,000. The United Kingdom, that number is 230,000. Germany, 100,000. Unbelievable.
I just read an article this last week about like 27 kids in a week in Cleveland.
Yeah, gone. And then the border, the wide open border at the southern part of the United States where 85,000 kids, we just don't know where they are. So all of this part of this child sex trafficking. So I'm not going into any more details about it tonight. I just wanted to sort of preview where I see, get ready, guys. I guarantee you, we're going to see mainstream media articles, Hollywood-style articles coming out about Mel Gibson again, reminding all of you why you should ignore him. And I just want you to be prepared. That's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that everyone will embrace this and say, well, let's watch this 4-part documentary about world child sex trafficking. Let's watch it with an open mind. But I don't think that's how this is going.
I want to see names, though. I want them to name names because that, like, the people that are orchestrating this are not just your average people because the amount of money involved in it. This is like top level stuff. And so like it's Yeah,
no, you bring up a great point here. So there's always this like, what we want to hear names, and from some of the witnesses and survivors who've escaped this, some who are high level like executives in the banking world, people like that, who when they were at a certain level were then asked to become part of the network, which means take the next step. Come now to these parties. Come now to this network where these children are. You're going to be taking the next step. We're bringing you into our fold here, and you're going to be brought there. And some of them said absolutely, they became incredibly sick and said, no way, I can't do that. No way. And then they're threatened. And then they're threatened because now they know too much, and they're threatened with their family's bloodline being wiped out and killed, to the point where they have to go into hiding. And then they're being told, like, please, I won't mention your names. Do not kill my family, is basically what they're being told. I've heard this now from a couple of different survivors who've gone through this, both on the female side of this, who were child sex trafficked, as well as the people who were at the high level and who were invited to be a part of the trafficking, and have said the same thing. So I think some of the reasons why we don't hear some of these names is because of that. If they've managed to get out, they got out, and if they were to reveal names, they would have their family threatened as well. So really, really awful stuff. Awful stuff. So, anyway, we've invited Tim to come on the show, and we'd love to ask questions about what this documentary would entail, and how broad this goes, how deep this goes, and what sort of pushback they get from Hollywood and other places. But it'll be interesting to see. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.